What's up, guys? Welcome back to the podcast. Excited for today's episode. I actually don't have any notes up for today's episode. There are times where I'll have notes up to make sure I hit everything and to kind of riff off of. But today, I'm going completely organic, completely bare, no notes, just what is inside of my head right here, right now. So you get that organic reality. So in today's episode, it's starting to become closer and closer to school, right? We're in early August. A lot of girls starting up, have a week left, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. A few of you after Labor Day, but for the most part, we're just a couple weeks away from the start of school, which can lead to a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety, a lot of uncertainty, and then also not just the school year that's new, but also new teams, right? For a lot of you, like fall season is your main season. Probably more so like the soccer, the volleyball, perhaps the softball, stuff like that is the main season is fall. And so along with school, there's also the pressures and anxieties and stresses that come along with a new sports season. So we're going to do more episodes this month, specifically on like starting off the school year with confidence and stuff like that. But today I want to break it down even more simple. And this is, we're going to talk about it in terms specifically of the new school year and stuff like that. But this can be applied to literally anything in your life. Okay. And that is focusing on the controllables. So I know you've probably heard this a million times, but we all need a reminder of this. I need a reminder of this every single day, and that's okay. But I want to share something that I learned that I think will be really helpful in you learning how to focus on the controllables. And that is an acronym. Okay, an acronym, and the acronym is EAT. EAT. One of my favorite things to do, right? So it's a great acronym because who doesn't love eating? Anyways, I didn't come up with this, so I'm not going to take credit for this. I believe I saw it on, it was a college football team that used it. I can't remember what football team. It could have been South Carolina. I could be wrong. We'll just say South Carolina. And if someone wants to fact check me, please do. But I saw this, so it's EAT. All right. So these are the three kind of big things that you have full control over. Number one, I'm sure you can guess, the E is effort. You can always control your effort. Let's say that you're about to take a test. Can you control the questions on a test? No. Can you control the effort that you put in when you studied? Yes. Can you control the noise level in the classroom? No. Can you control your own negative thoughts and try to manage those? Yes, that's effort. All right. So, effort, you can always control your effort. Now, let's look at it in a sports, right? Let's say that you are dead tired. Maybe you had a fight with your friend. Maybe you didn't get enough sleep. Maybe you didn't have lunch before your game or your practice. Okay. So, let's say that your energy is low. Can you still control the effort? Absolutely. Even if, and I've used this example on a previous podcast, but let's say that you're top, you got 100%. That's when you're at your optimal 100%, right? But if you have, had a fight with a friend or didn't have sleep or didn't eat your lunch, you're going to be at maybe, let's say, a 60%, right? So even though you aren't at your 100%, can you still give the full 100% of that 60%? Right? So you only have 60% in the tank. Can you still give all of that effort? Let's imagine that the weather is terrible for your game. You can't control that, so there's no use in worrying about that. You can't control your effort. You can't control your playing time, but you can control your effort. So like this is so simple. I'm trying to give some examples to carry this on a little bit more for you to really get this, but you can always control your effort. And one thing that I used to say to myself like before every single game, when I would get like really nervous or I would feel a lot of pressure, I would say, all you can ever give is 100%. And I would go play. And it didn't matter if my touch was off. It didn't matter if, I wasn't the strongest one or the fastest one out there. I was always going to give 100% effort. And that really took off a lot of the pressure that I put on myself. So E, effort. All right. Number two, A is attitude. So you can always control your attitude. And I think when we talk about attitude, you can also talk about like perspective. Like you can always control your perspective. So I think we can use those two interchangeably. But again, you could be in the worst scenario in your life and you could have a bad attitude about it, or you could have a good attitude about it. You can have one perspective, you can have another perspective. So a really good example of this one, and I might have shared this on a previous podcast, but let's imagine that you're sitting in traffic. This one may not hit you as hard if you're not the one driving, but imagine that you're sitting in traffic. Okay, what's the reality of the situation? You're in traffic. One person, and there's actually a story. I'm trying to retell the story as best as I can, but one person, right, hates the traffic. Like they let it stress them out and let it like really affect them, and they get mad and they get angry, and that's their attitude about the traffic. But then there's another person in another car, and they love sitting in traffic. They're still in the same traffic, but they love sitting in traffic because they see it. Their perspective on that is, hey, I get some time to just be. Whether that's I can listen to a podcast, I can listen to music, I don't have to work, I don't have to be talking to anybody, I don't have to be running around. I just get to be in my car relaxing. So again, same situation, different attitudes, different perspectives. Same thing, you can use this for practice. Let's say that you are running fitness. You can have a terrible attitude about it, which I used to have a terrible attitude about fitness most of the time. And then things don't go well and it sucks and you probably don't do well. Or you can have an attitude of gratitude and say, you know what? This isn't fun, but I'm grateful that I have two legs. I'm grateful that I'm a strong, healthy, able bodied person that can actually run fitness and that I have this opportunity to better myself. Right. So anytime you get caught in like the victim mentality or the this sucks mentality, take a step back, zoom out and ask yourself, what is my attitude about this? Can I change my attitude? Answer is you can always change your attitude. All right. So be really aware of what is my attitude? How is it contributing to my happiness? And can I shift that? And again, answer is you can always shift it. It's not always easy, but you can always shift it. All right. And number 3, the T. All right. The T is toughness. All right. The T is toughness. So I've recently had a call with one of the girls that I work with, and we talked about these EAT. So if she's listening, she's going to already know the answers to all these. But we talked about toughness, and specifically in her example, we talked about tenacity, like going out there and like being tenacious, going out there and being tough. Right. So let's get like a really, really concrete example for this one. Again, let's say your touch is off. Let's say that your shot is off. Let's say that your throwing is just it's not great today. Okay, you don't always have control over that kind of stuff, right? But you do have control over how tough you are. Meaning, let's use a basketball example, right? So let's say that your free throws are a bit off, your shots just aren't going down, you're just feeling a little bit sluggish, a little bit slow. Well, can you still be tough? Can you still be tenacious? Can you still drive to the hoop? Can you still play defense like a dog? Can you still box out and go up for rebounds? Yes, you can. So that's part of effort. But toughness and tenacity, also think of it as like the aggressive side of things and not just that. So that's the one part of toughness that I see. And the who I learned this from, I didn't really look at their definition of toughness, but this is my definition of toughness. And maybe you have your own. So that's one definition of toughness is like the actual like physical toughness, right? But the other side of toughness I see is the toughness and the resilience of responding to hard things. So let's say a really simple example is making a mistake in a game. It requires some toughness to go out there to respond to the mistake and continue to fight and push. Correct. Again, can you control the mistake? No. But can you control how you respond to the mistake? Yes. And that is toughness. So making a terrible pass and getting back as fast as you can and getting out of your head and getting back into the game and being present, that's toughness. Or even losing a game. You can't always control the outcome. If you could control the outcome, that would be really boring. You can't control the outcome of the game, but you can control the toughness in handling the loss, in bouncing back, right? So toughness, number one, is like somewhat related to effort. And are you going out there with like this tenacity? Okay. And number two is kind of this mental toughness, this resilience. When you have those negative thoughts come up, when you just got benched, when you had a teammate yell at you, how do you respond to that? Can you recover from that? And the thing is, can you control that? Yes. So you can always control your effort, your attitude, and your toughness. So next time you feel really stressed out about going to school, about taking a test, about a game, a new team, a tryout, remind yourself of these things. All right, before I head into this thing, I'm going to really focus on my effort. If I just give 100% effort, I'm good. I can be proud of myself. Attitude. What is my attitude about this situation right now? Do I need to change it? Do I need to kind of shift my perspective a little bit? Okay, good. Now shift it. And then the last one is reminding yourself that number one, you can be tough, you can be aggressive, you can be a dog out there. You can always do that, right? But then also remind yourself that you can't control the mistakes, but you can control how you bounce back and how you tough it out after the mistake or after the foul or after you get benched or after the terrible loss or after a missed PK, whatever that is toughness, right? And this extends way, 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 way beyond the sport. Like you can use it for anything in your life. Let's say that you had a death in the family. Remind yourself of these things. Let's say you broke up with a friend, right? You can control your effort around, either getting a new friend or regaining that friendship. You can control your attitude around that. You control your toughness around bouncing back from that thing. So these things, I know they're simple, but I love simple because when we try to complicate things, we don't do things. So again, it's just these three simple things to always come back to, always come back to. Remind yourself of these. Eat. You can't forget it because we all eat every day, right? So that's why I love this acronym. So I hope this episode was helpful for you. We have some really, really great episodes lined up. Next week, we have a guest speaker. It's a phenomenal podcast. And then we have some more specifically related to school, building confidence around the start of the school year. So if this episode was helpful, share it with a teammate, share it with a friend, leave us a review. Remember, if you leave a review, you take a screenshot of it. So if you're on Apple Podcast, leave a review, take a screenshot, send it to me on email or on Instagram, and I will send you a gift. I got some cool gifts that I'm ready to send out. So if you want a cool gift, send it over to me and I'd be happy to get that out to you. Again, hope you have a great week. Remember to eat, and I will see you next week.